Welcome to MojoPlays. For this video, we'll be looking at remakes and remasters of classic games that are set to come out in the foreseeable future. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Release date TBA 2020.
Well, goodness, Tim. Thank you very much for your thoughtful concerns around the final quality of the game. But let me put your fears to rest.
Created as a free Half-Life 2 mod, The Stanley Parable is one of the most inventive and thought-provoking games that probably flew under your radar. When it first came out in 2011, decision-driven narratives were nothing new in gaming. Yet, we can't think of a game that's played with the notion of free choice quite like this interactive drama. Primarily thanks to its self-aware narrator who practically dares you to defy him.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful.
The Stanley Parable was subsequently remade with multiple new endings, a fresh soundtrack, and several other welcome additions. The Ultra Deluxe Edition will incorporate even more content, including new possible outcomes. This version will ultimately stay true to the original though, making it a must-play for anyone who hasn't visited the office before.
Come. Daddy needs a third swimming pool.
Mafia Definitive Edition. Release date August 28, 2020.
You might pour on one more though. Couldn't pull it off without you, Sammy.
Looking for something to hold you over until we learn more about GTA 6? Then the definitive edition of this gangster classic should hit its target. Earlier this year, a remastered version of Mafia 2 was released to mostly positive reviews. A Mafia 3 remaster is also on the way. The original Mafia, however, is getting the full remake treatment from the ground up. It's been 18 years since we first met Thomas "Tommy" Angelo, arguably the gaming equivalent to Michael Corleone. Xbox, PS4, and Windows users can now experience an expanded version of Tommy's story with an original score, new gameplay functions, and refined visuals. If you've been wanting to replay the Mafia trilogy for a while now, this is the place to start.
Everything I've done, both good and bad, I've done for my family.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition. Release date August 27, 2020.
Crystals keep the deadly miasma in check, but the crystal's power is not eternal.
Final Fantasy VII isn't the only Square Enix title getting a much-needed update this year. While not as ambitious, the remastered edition of Crystal Chronicles is taking a few pages from FF7 Remake. For starters, voice actors will breathe new life into characters we know and love. This is far from the only innovation, as the remaster also implements newly arranged music, polished graphics, and extra dungeons. Where the original game was a Nintendo exclusive, this version is bringing the action to the Switch, PS4, and mobile platforms. Most would agree that the hardware required for multiplayer was the original game's most frustrating element. The remastered edition, however, aims to improve upon this cross-platform online multiplayer, making those pesky link cables a distant memory.
Keep the adventure close at hand. The journey now unfolds on smartphones.
Oddworld Soulstorm. Release date TBA 2020. In an era where 3D platformers like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon dominated the PS1, the 2D Oddworld games still managed to stand out with their creative level design and then innovative quick save feature. Abe's Odyssey was previously given the remake treatment with Oddworld New and Tasty, and after a nearly 3-year delay, Abe's Exodus is finally getting a reimagining in Oddworld Soulstorm. Like the New and Tasty, this direct sequel utilizes the Unity engine to expand upon the original story and world. While in the spirit of Abe's Odyssey, Soulstorm is essentially a new game that aspires to be bigger and better. Director Lorne Lanning has built this version up as the game he always wanted to make with a darker tone and 2.9D graphics.
It's the end of the line now.
Destroy All Humans. Release date July 28, 2020. As satisfying as saving humanity can be, causing destruction is simply more fun. Well, in the gaming realm at least. While its reception wasn't overwhelming back in 2005, Destroy All Humans has endured due to its hilariously grim premise, an open world just begging to be annihilated, and great voiceover work from Invader Zim himself, Richard Stephen Horvitz. For fans of retro space invasion movies, it was hard to resist. The same can be said about this remake, which is appropriately coming to PS4, Xbox, Windows, and Stadia. While the original's humor and voice cast remain virtually untouched, this version does improve upon the cutscenes with motion capture technology and even features a lost mission to Area 42. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. Release date September 4th, 2020. For anybody who grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s, chances are you spent your weekends with a friend, a couple of controllers, and Tony Hawk. Even if you weren't that into actual skateboarding as a kid, few things proved more gratifying than grinding on rails, pulling off a wall ride, and discovering other new tricks. As far as we're concerned, no skating game has come close to topping the early Pro Skater titles. After the wipeout that was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, the series is returning to its roots with the remaster of the first two games. Available for PS4, Xbox, and Windows, this collection encompasses everything that made this franchise so much fun back in the day, save a few licensed songs. Demon's Souls. Release date to be determined. Before Dark Souls made From Software a household name, it was Demon's Souls that started out the Soulstorm series. Originally a PS3 exclusive, the game ended up getting mostly overlooked when it was first released, as its high difficulty was considered too high of a barrier for entry initially. Of course, we know better now, and we realize that this difficulty is what makes these titles so satisfying to beat. So we'll have an opportunity to try this out again when this remake hits the PS5. Perhaps the best news out of all of this though is that the remake is being helmed by Bluepoint Games, who were previously responsible for the 2018 Shadow of the Colossus remake. So we know this project is not only in safe hands, but will be better than ever. System Shock. Release date TBA 2020.
Nathan Darcy is the science officer on board. He'd have information on shutting the laser down. His office is on your level near the central hub.
System Shock doesn't get as much attention these days as Deus Ex or BioShock, but neither of those modern masterpieces would exist if it weren't for this 1994 game changer. While the Enhanced Edition was a welcome update, Night Dive Studios is going the extra mile with this remake for PS4, Xbox, Windows, and operating systems. Launching with a Kickstarter campaign, the remake more than exceeded its $900,000 goal. While the game has been in and out of production since then, this time has given the developers a chance to figure out exactly what they want to accomplish. There's a reason why the game isn't merely called System Shock Remastered. It's been described as a faithful reboot, bringing a classic into the 21st century. Check out these other great clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.